Vultures are among the most important, yet tragically misunderstood and underappreciated birds on the planet. They rarely make conservation headlines. Unlike tigers or elephants, they do not inspire glamour or grandeur. But they perform a service no other species can replace. They are nature's cleanup crew. For centuries, vultures have circled above our landscapes, patient and watchful. To many, their dark silhouettes are unsettling, even ominous. Yet behind those broad wings lies one of the most extraordinary survival stories in nature and one of its most overlooked services. Vultures are not hunters. They are custodians of the land, descending only when their work is needed most, to cleanse the earth of the dead. By stripping a carcass clean within minutes, they prevent the spread of deadly pathogens, safeguarding both wildlife and human health. These carrion-eating birds of prey are far more than scavengers. They are barometers of ecological well-being. Where vultures thrive, ecosystems remain clean, sustainable, and resilient. Where they disappear, decay and disease quickly follow. Vultures, members of the family Accipitridae, are specialist scavengers with extraordinary adaptations. Their eyesight is razor-sharp, their immune systems among the strongest in the animal kingdom. Feeding exclusively on carrion, they can strip a carcass within minutes. In doing so, they neutralize deadly pathogens that would otherwise spread to wildlife, livestock, and even humans. What may appear gruesome is, in reality, one of nature's most effective public health services. It is a niche no other bird fills with such efficiency. They are, quite literally, the sanitation workers of the skies, performing a task that looks brutal but is, in truth, life-saving. By consuming and sterilizing the dead, vultures protect the living. India is home to 9 species of vultures, many of which have suffered a catastrophic decline in recent decades, largely due to human activity. Once numbering in the millions, their populations are now fragmented and fragile. The skies that once thundered with their presence are disturbingly silent today. Most Indian vulture species are now listed as critically endangered by the International Union for Conservation of Nature, IUCN. These include the white-rumped vulture, Gyps bengalensis, Indian vulture, Gyps indicus, slender-billed vulture, Gyps tenuirostris, and red-headed vulture, Sarcogyps calvus. The endangered category includes the Egyptian vulture, Neophron percnopterus. The near-threatened species are the Himalayan griffon, Gyps himalayensis, cinereous vulture, Aegypius monachus, and bearded vulture, Gypaetus barbatus. The Eurasian griffon, Gyps fulvus, is the only species considered of least concern. Vultures are recognized as a keystone species, meaning their disappearance has consequences far beyond their own survival. Their loss disrupts ecosystems, fuels the spread of disease, and alters the balance of the scavenger community. When vultures vanish, the entire system begins to unravel. The disappearance of vultures from India's skies is one of the most rapid and devastating wildlife declines ever recorded. It unfolded quietly, largely unnoticed by the public, until its consequences began to surface in unexpected and alarming ways. What began as the loss of an unloved bird has revealed itself as a full-blown ecological and public health crisis. In the early 1990s, vulture populations across the Indian subcontinent began to crash. Within a decade, numbers had fallen by more than 90%. In some species, declines exceeded 97%, a rate of loss rarely seen outside of mass extinction events. The cause was eventually traced to a single factor: the veterinary drug diclofenac. Widely used to treat cattle, diclofenac proved fatal to vultures that fed on treated carcasses. Even trace amounts caused kidney failure. One contaminated meal was enough to kill a bird. The scale of the disaster was staggering. Entire breeding colonies vanished. Skies once filled with soaring birds fell silent. Even as they struggle to recover, vultures remain vulnerable to a host of human-made threats: collisions and electrocution from expanding power infrastructure, severe injuries from discarded kite strings during festival seasons, and poisoning from baits laid for other wildlife. Today, most Indian vulture species are listed as critically endangered by the International Union for Conservation of Nature, IUCN. Once counted in millions, their populations are now fragmented and fragile. The disappearance of the cleanup crew triggered a biological chain reaction. Their disappearance reshaped ecosystems and directly affected human communities. With vultures gone, rotting carcasses of livestock piled up, attracting an explosion in the feral dog and rat populations. These animals are disease carriers, leading to a massive increase in the incidence of rabies cases in humans. Studies estimate that the vulture crisis contributed to hundreds of thousands of additional human deaths from rabies and other infections. The public health crisis, including treatment costs and loss of life, was estimated to have cost India tens of billions of dollars in economic damages. The lesson was stark: removing a single species can destabilize entire systems. The cost of ignoring ecological balance is ultimately paid by people. India took a crucial step in 2006 by banning veterinary diclofenac. Alternative drugs, such as meloxicam, were identified as safe for vultures. Captive breeding and the SAVE consortium programs were established, and vulture safe zones were created to protect nesting and feeding habitats. These efforts have slowed the decline and, in some areas, allowed tentative recovery. But progress remains fragile. Illegal use of toxic drugs persists. Habitat loss, food scarcity, and poisoning continue to threaten surviving populations. Saving vultures requires sustained commitment, not symbolic gestures. Governments must strictly enforce bans on harmful veterinary drugs and regulate pharmaceutical use in livestock. Conservation breeding programs need long-term funding and scientific support. Farmers and veterinarians must be educated and incentivized to adopt vulture-safe practices. Equally important is changing public perception. Vultures must be seen not as harbingers of death, but as protectors of life, sanitation workers of the natural world whose disappearance leaves society vulnerable. The vulture crisis offers a sobering reminder: ecosystems do not collapse loudly. They unravel quietly, until the consequences can no longer be ignored. The fight for vultures is not about saving a single bird group. It is about saving the balance of life itself. In protecting vultures, we protect ourselves. The time to act is now. The silent catastrophe of the vulture is a stark reminder that every species, no matter how unglamorous, is a pillar holding up the structure of our own health and economy. Saving the vulture is not just about bird conservation, it is about safeguarding the environment we all share. The catastrophe may have been silent. Our response must not be.